Hello dear students, welcome back to Social Science class. Today we will continue with the chapter New Kings and Kingdoms. Here we have already studied how new kingdoms established between 7th to 12th century in Indian subcontinent. These kingdoms were very powerful and wealthy, and there were wars and fights between these kingdoms. Not only these kingdoms, but there were foreign attacks also. For example, Muhammad Gauri and Mahmud of Ghazni attacked these kingdoms for wealth. Today we will see about an important dynasty or an important empire from South India, that is Chola Empire. Now we'll see how these Cholas established their kingdom in southern part of India. First, we see that Pallava from Kanchipuram. They were the important kingdom during that time. And Muttarayyar and Vijayalaya, they were two subordinates of this Pallava kingdom of Kanchipuram. And Vijayalaya was from chiefly family of Cholas and Muttarayyar from Tanjavur. They were two Samantas. We already studied about Samantas, those who were subordinates to the king. So these Muttarayyar and Vijayalaya, these were the two subordinates of Pallava kingdom. Later, in the mid-9th century, Vijayalaya, he attacked Muttarayyar or Tanjavur, and he established his Chola kingdom in Tanjavur. So here Vijayalaya, one Samanta, he captured the place Tanjavur of Muttarayyar, and he built the town Tanjavur and also a temple for goddess Nishamba Sudini. After his Vijayalaya successors like Rajaraja I and his son Rajendra I also expanded the kingdom, Chola kingdom later. Rajaraja I's son was Rajendra I. He raided Ganga Valley, Sri Lanka and countries of Southeast Asia, developing a navy for these expeditions. These Chola kings, Rajaraja I and his son Rajendra I, built so many temples. Here, these Chola temples became the nuclei of settlements or the center of the settlements of different people. These were centers of craft production. The produce of this land went into maintaining all the specialists who worked at the temple and very often lived near it. Priests, garland makers, cooks, sweepers, musicians, dancers, etc. In other words, temples were not only places of worship, they were the hub of economic, social and cultural life as well. Chola kings, they developed agriculture in their empire. They made the place favorable for agriculture. How did they do so? First, forests were cleared. So they wanted to cultivate crops. So first thing they have done, forests were cleared. Then land leveled. Level land is required for the agriculture. So they leveled the land. Embankments to prevent flooding. Embankments side of the rivers to prevent the flooding. Canals to supply water in fields. Every year, 2 crops were grown in the place, in that place. So these were the things or the developments during the Chola kings. Forests were cleared, land was leveled, embankments to prevent flooding, and canals were constructed to supply water in fields. And every year they tried to grow two crops. As water is very necessary for the cultivation or for the agriculture, they made some artificial arrangements for that. So, they have constructed wells, tanks and canals to supply water to the fields.
The Cholas were great administrators. They were one of the most organized and powerful dynasties and had an efficient provincial administration. They believed in the welfare of people. It was considered as the chief duty of the king. Council of ministers were appointed to help the king. Let us now understand the administrative structure of the Chola kingdom. The kingdom was ruled from the capital. It was divided into provinces called Mandalam. Provinces were further divided into districts known as Kottam. Districts were further divided into Nadu. Nadu consisted of villages known as Ur. Agriculture was the main occupation of Ur dwellers. The agricultural lands were divided into Brahmadaya, which were gifted to Brahmins, Velangavi, held by non-Brahmins, Shalabhoga, which was given for the maintenance of schools, Devadana or Tirunamattukani were the lands gifted to temples, and finally Palli Chandam, which were the lands donated to Jain institutions. Brahmadaya was looked after by Sabha, which consisted of well-known Brahman landlords. Decisions of the Sabha were recorded as inscriptions on the stone walls of the temples. One such inscription is the Uttara Merur inscription, which accounts for the organization of a Sabha. Different subcommittees looked after different works. Members of these subcommittees were elected, and the method of election has been described in the inscription. Small tickets of palm leaves were made, and names of eligible candidates were written on those. Tickets were then placed in an earthen pot, and a young boy was assigned the task to select a ticket for each committee. Dispensing justice and collecting tax were the main administrative functions during Chola dynasty. The Nadus were fully controlled by the rich peasants of the Vellala caste. The Chola kings honored the rich landowners with the titles of respect, such as Muvenda Velan, which means a villain, or a peasant serving three kings, and a Rayar, which means chief. They were entrusted with the chief offices and administrative functions.